As Caesar's legions advanced deeper into the heart of Gaul, they encountered tribes determined to resist the Roman invasion. Among these was the Atuatuci, a fierce and proud tribe descended from the Germanic peoples. They had watched as Caesar dismantled tribe after tribe across Gaul and had vowed to stand firm against the Roman war machine. Their stronghold, perched atop a steep and defensible hill, was thought to be impenetrable, and they believed themselves invulnerable within its mighty walls. But Julius Caesar, fresh from his victories at the Battle of the Axona and the Battle of the Sabes, was not a man to leave any enemy unchecked. The Atuatuci would face the full force of his strategic genius and the disciplined might of the Roman legions. Following his victory over the Nervi, Caesar's army was confident but fatigued. They had fought a grueling campaign and now faced another fierce tribe. Yet Caesar understood the importance of maintaining momentum. The Atuatuci, with their fortified city, represented a significant obstacle in his bid to subdue Gaul. Allowing them to remain unconquered would leave a threat at his back, one that could inspire other tribes to resist Roman rule. The Atuatuci had retreated into their hilltop fortress, surrounded on all sides by steep cliffs. To the outside observer, the city seemed untouchable. But Caesar, ever the tactician, knew better. While the Atuatuci relied on their natural defences, Caesar relied on his experience in siege warfare. He ordered his engineers to begin constructing siege equipment. Roman legions had perfected the art of siegecraft, and under Caesar's command they built siege towers, battering rams and ballistae capable of hurling massive projectiles over the walls. The soldiers also dug trenches and built their own fortifications around the Atuatuci's city, ensuring that no one could leave without Roman permission. To the Atuatuci, watching from their walls, the sight of the Roman legions methodically building their siege works was a chilling one. Day by day, the Roman army seemed to grow closer to their city, their walls feeling less and less impenetrable. The Atuatuci were not a tribe to submit easily. From their high vantage point, they hurled insults at the Roman soldiers below, taunting them for their perceived arrogance. How could they hope to breach these walls? The city had never been taken in all the long years of its existence, and the Atuatuci believed it never would be. But Caesar, ever pragmatic, was not deterred by words. He understood that wars were won through action, not bravado. He had already laid the groundwork for success by cutting off the Atuatuci's supply lines. The city was surrounded, and the people within were growing increasingly desperate. Time was on Caesar's side. Inside the city, however, the Atuatuci leaders were faced with a difficult decision. Their bravado could only carry them so far. Supplies were running low, and with no hope of reinforcement, they would soon be unable to feed their people or their warriors. The city's council met in secret to discuss their options. Some advocated for a final stand, a glorious last battle against the Romans, believing that the gods would favour their courage. Others, more pragmatic, urged the council to negotiate with Caesar before it was too late. After much debate, they reached a decision. They would send envoys to Caesar, not to surrender, but to stall for time. The Atuatuci envoys arrived at the Roman camp under a banner of peace. Dressed in their finest garments, they presented themselves as humble and apologetic. They explained to Caesar that their people had been misled into opposing the Romans. The true leaders, they claimed, sought only peace. They wished to surrender the city to Caesar and end the bloodshed, but they requested mercy for their people. Caesar listened carefully to their words, but was not easily fooled. His experience in Gaul had taught him that diplomacy was often a tool used by desperate tribes to buy time. However, he had no reason to refuse their offer. A peaceful resolution, if genuine, would save Roman lives and allow his army to continue its conquest without delay. But Caesar was cautious. He agreed to accept their surrender on the condition that they turn over all of their weapons. The Atuatuci, after feigning reluctance, agreed to Caesar's terms. Over the next few days, they brought out vast quantities of arms, spears, shields, swords and axes, all piled before the Roman camp. The sheer volume of the weapons seemed to confirm their sincerity. Yet Caesar remained suspicious. He had seen the Gallic tribes use deception before, and he had no intention of being caught off guard. Though the Atuatuci had disarmed themselves, Caesar quietly ordered his men to remain vigilant. He doubled the number of guards around the camp and prepared for the possibility of treachery. Caesar's caution proved well-founded. On the night following the supposed surrender, the Atuatuci launched a surprise attack. Armed with weapons they had hidden from the Romans, they stormed out of their city in the dead of night, hoping to catch Caesar's army off guard. The Atuatuci warriors, fierce and desperate, poured down the steep slopes toward the Roman camp, hoping to break through the Roman lines and escape into the countryside. For a moment, it seemed as though they might succeed. The suddenness of the attack, combined with the ferocity of the Atuatuci fighters, threw the Roman guards into momentary confusion. But Caesar's foresight had prepared his army for such an eventuality. The additional guards, reinforced defences, and the ever-disciplined Roman legions quickly responded to the threat. As the Atuatuci neared the Roman walls, they were met with a barrage of missiles, javelins, arrows and stones, hurled from Roman catapults and slingers. The Atuatuci fought with incredible bravery, but they were no match for the disciplined Roman soldiers. The legions, locked in tight formations, repelled the assault with brutal efficiency. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, the Atuatuci realized that their final gamble had failed. The survivors retreated back to their city, exhausted and defeated. With their last desperate attempt to break the Roman siege thwarted, the Atuatuci had no choice but to surrender. This time, there were no more tricks. Caesar's legions advanced on the city, their siege towers and battering rams finally put to use. The walls that had once seemed so invincible crumbled before the might of Roman engineering. The Roman soldiers poured into the city, and the Atuatuci, now utterly broken, could offer no further resistance. Caesar, in a rare show of clemency, chose not to slaughter the entire population. Instead, he enslaved them, sending tens of thousands of Atuatuci into chains, a grim reminder to the rest of Gaul of the price of opposing Rome. The fall of the Atuatuci was a significant moment in Caesar's conquest of Gaul. It demonstrated the futility of resistance against the Roman war machine and sent a clear message to any other tribe considering rebellion. No fortress, no matter how strong, could stand against the might and determination of Rome. The aftermath of the siege saw Caesar consolidating his gains in the region, ensuring that no tribe could offer aid to the Atuatuci or attempt to mount a rebellion of their own. The swift Roman victory sent shockwaves through Gaul, further solidifying the reputation of Caesar and his legions as an unstoppable force. As Caesar's army moved on, leaving behind the smouldering remains of the Atuatuci's once proud city, the tribes of Gaul took notice. Some began to consider submission to Roman rule, while others, still defiant, plotted in the shadows. For Caesar, this was only one of many battles in his relentless pursuit of dominance over Gaul. With the Atuatuci defeated, his focus would shift to the next challenge, the next battle, the next conquest. But the Gallic wars were far from over. While many tribes had been crushed under the weight of Roman arms, others were preparing to resist with newfound vigour. Caesar's name now struck fear into the hearts of his enemies, but for some it also ignited a fire of rebellion. The siege of the Atuatuci was a testament to Caesar's strategic brilliance and the discipline of his legions. It showed the world that no enemy, no matter how fortified or determined, could stand against Rome. Yet it also marked the beginning of a new phase in the Gallic Wars, one where the tribes of Gaul would no longer underestimate their Roman foe. In the future, battles would be fought with even greater ferocity, and Caesar's conquest of Gaul would only become more brutal. But for now, with the Atuatuci defeated and enslaved, Caesar could claim yet another victory on his path to complete domination of Gaul.